Well, the Prime Minister is up to his tricky word politics again, this time when it comes to negative gearing. Now, this guy struggles to give a straight answer, which can only mean one thing. Changes are indeed coming. And it wouldn't be the first time the Prime Minister has tied himself in knots.
We have not changed our position on stage 3 tax cuts. I can confirm that we haven't changed our position. We have no change to our plans. Tax cuts will happen in July. We haven't changed our position. I've said we haven't changed our position. We haven't changed our position on the stage 3 tax cuts. They've been legislated. We support them. Our position hasn't changed. My word is my bond.
Who could forget that? And here he was this week trying to weasel his way out of answering questions about whether Labor would consider changes to negative gearing.
Well, we have no plans to touch or change negative gearing. So I talk about what we're doing, not what we're not doing. Well, I have no plans to do it. So I talk about what we're doing, not what we're not doing. No, we have no plans to change negative gearing. Well, I've said what we're doing, and I've said what we're not doing.
Try and make sense of that. Joining me now is Liberal MP Andrew Wallace. Andrew, thank you for joining us. How do you see this playing out? Is negative gearing heading into the same direction as stage 3 tax cuts?
Well, Danica, this guy just seems to go from one disaster to the next, doesn't he? It's comical. It's kind of like watching a slow motion train wreck. The Prime Minister's got form on misleading the country in relation to tax changes, as you quite well put out, in relation to the stage 3 tax cuts. They told us they wouldn't introduce changes to superannuation. They told us they wouldn't introduce changes to franking credits, and yet here we are. So why would 27 million Australians now believe the Prime Minister about not changing negative gearing or the capital gains tax discounts? It is absolutely clear, what we've seen over the course of this week, that Labor have and always have had a philosophical problem with housing and tax advantages that many Australians are able to receive. I mean, really, you've got to wonder about the brains of these people, that they are now talking about running these changes to the Australian people. Hey, look, from a political perspective, go for your life, because the Australian people will really hold Labor's feet to the fire on this. They are angry enough as it is, but now if they introduce these changes, rents will go sky high. Who knows what will happen to property values? But, this is a very, very dangerous situation for Australians to be in.
It's certainly very concerning. Now, I want to ask you about Labor's misinformation bill, an attempt, I believe, to completely censor the internet. How dangerous of a pathway is this? I mean, how can there be a bureaucrat in Canberra, for example, deciding what is misinformation and what is not?
Well, look, your guess is as good as mine, Danica. And once again, we've seen this movie before and we know how it ends. This is the second time they've tried to introduce this bill. The last time they introduced it, they had to pull it because when they did, they got more than 20,000 submissions. Everybody was against it. The Law Council was against it. Civil liberties groups were against it. All the sort of people that would normally back Labor and their sort of policies. Everybody seemed to be speaking against this bill. But where you have a situation where journalists can say what they like, but that's not misinformation. Academics can say what they like, but that's not misinformation. Politicians can say what they like, provided they're government politicians, and say what they like, but average Australians can't. And the arbiter of that fact, that question of fact, would be a public servant. We are treading down a very, very dangerous path, and we do not want to see a country as magnificent as Australia get to a situation where ordinary, average, everyday Australians are being told what they can and can't say. That's something that we should be dying in the ditch over, and it's something that we should be fighting this government every step of the way. And the coalition has come out at every step and said that we will strongly oppose this bill.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very dangerous pathway to be going down. Andrew Wallace, good to have you on. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thanks, Danica.